The Muppet Babies live in a nursery in a house on a street that is a lot like yours, but they can travel anywhere, anytime, using a special power, the power of the imagination. Can you imagine what it would be like to go with them? Join the Muppet Babies on this adventure and find out. Robin? Robin?
Yes, Uncle Kermit?
Why don't you come out from there, Robin?
Oh, gee, I sort of like it in here. It's dark and it's quiet.
Well, you know, Robin, there's really nothing to be scared of.
Who's scared?
You know, I know that when you're caught outside in a thunderstorm, you do have to be careful. You know, for instance, you should never stand under any trees. But you're perfectly safe in here with me.
Really?
Really. You know, there's a book somewhere around here about baby Piggy and a thunderstorm. It might help take your mind off things. Just a second.
Was Piggy afraid of thunderstorms when she was little?
Well, why don't I read you the story here, and you can find out. It's called Baby Piggy and the Thunderstorm, and it was written by Joanne Barkin, and the pictures are by Tom Cook. Dazzle, zap, crash, boom! Outside the Muppet Baby nursery, lightning flashed and thunder rolled through the sky. The clouds were dense and dark as ink. The rain came down hard and fast, pounding against the window. "It sure is raining cats and dogs," said Kermit. "Cats and dogs?" Baby Piggy disagreed. "It's not raining cats and dogs. It's raining rain. Buckets and tubs and oceans full of rain." Piggy shivered and snuggled deeper into her armchair. She didn't like thunderstorms at all. "It might rain so long that it rains right into the nursery," worried Piggy. "That won't happen," answered Kermit. "It's just a summer storm. They never last too long." But Piggy put up her pink striped umbrella, just in case. "This storm is too scary for me," Piggy shivered. "Don't worry," said Kermit. "You're safe as long as you're inside." But Piggy put on her raincoat and rain hat and hid behind the chair, just in case. Kermit again tried to help. "Danny told me all about thunderstorms," he explained. "Lightning is electricity. It heats up the air, and that makes thunder."
Is that how it works, Uncle Kermit?
"That's right, Robin. That's why the thunder always comes after the lightning." Now, where was I? Oh, yeah. "I'm still worried," insisted Piggy. Then she gathered up her two favorite dresses, a warm sweater, some raisin cookies left over from lunch, and packed them in her waterproof suitcase, just in case. "Try to be patient," suggested Kermit. "You just have to wait for some things to end." Piggy nodded. She heard Kermit, but she went on wiggling herself as far as she could underneath the bed, just in case. A moment later, a long streak of lightning pierced the sky, and a great thunderclap shook the nursery. Piggy squeezed her eyes shut. When she opened her eyes, Piggy was looking up at a large dog holding a baton. "Welcome to Whirl Storm Headquarters," said the dog. "I'm the Great Rain Dane. Right here behind me are the Thunderclap Cats and the Lightning Pups." "Thunderclap Cats and Lightning Pups," thought Piggy. "They must be the ones who are making it rain cats and dogs." Before she could utter a word, the Great Rain Dane spoke again. "You'll have to excuse us," he said politely. "We're in the middle of a storm right now. Why don't you sit down and enjoy the show?" The Rain Dane signaled to the cats and pups with his baton. Dazzle, zap! The lightning pups bounced their beams across the sky. Crash, boom! The thunderclap cats used their cymbals to make the thunder roll. And when the Great Rain Dane tapped his foot, the rain came down even faster. As Piggy took her seat, the lightning pups were beginning a short solo. Piggy was feeling a little hungry as well as worried, so she ate her leftover raisin cookies and then glanced around for a refreshment stand. But there was nothing in sight. "Oh dear," Piggy sighed as she watched the band play. "They're really having fun. They'll probably play for a long, long time. They'll probably play so long that everything in the nursery will get damp and soggy, especially the food in the kitchen. Then there will be no crispy toast and crunchy cereal for breakfast. It will probably rain so long that when lunchtime comes around, there will be no more picnic lunches. All the picnic blankets will have floated out to sea. And that means all the peanut butter sandwiches and cupcakes will have floated away too. Dinner will be very, very late because Nanny will have to swim while she prepares it. Oh no! Does Nanny know how to swim? When it's time to go to bed, we'll probably have to sleep on rubber rafts and wear waterproof pajamas. And how will we be able to eat our bedtime snack?" Piggy was getting more worried and hungry every minute. "Mr. Great Rain Dane," she shouted above the noise of the thunder and rain, "when is this storm going to end?" The Rain Dane continued waving his baton and tapping his foot as he turned to speak to Piggy. "Try to be patient," he called out. "You just have to wait for some things to end." "That sounds familiar," said Piggy. The Thunderclap Cats stepped up to the front of the stage to do their solo. Wondered Piggy. "Won't all this rain make their cymbals get rusty and break? What if all the cymbals in the whole world get rusty and break? And what about all the xylophones, and trumpets, and flutes, and kazoos?" This reminded Piggy that Nanny had promised to take the babies to a concert in the park that night. But if all the instruments get rusty and break, there won't be any concert, and that means no ice cream at intermission. If there are no instruments left in the world, there will be no music for the circus. Then there will be no circus, and that means no hot dogs or cotton candy. There will be no music for the movies, and that means no popcorn. And then there won't even be music for the skating rink, no skating rink, and that means no hot chocolate with marshmallows. Piggy jumped up. "Mr. Great Rain Dane, stop right now. If you keep playing, everything will get wet and rusty. There will be no music, no fun things to do, and nothing to eat." The Great Rain Dane shook his head. "Don't worry, that won't happen. The cats and pups and I love to play up a storm, but we know when to end the show. Listen." The Great Rain Dane was right. The boom of the cymbals was growing faint. The flashing lights dimmed. The pounding rain became a light patter and then stopped. One by one, the cats and pups sat down to rest. It was very quiet. "You see," whispered the Great Rain Dane, "you just have to wait." "I know, you just have to wait for some things to end," repeated Piggy as she opened her eyes. Baby Kermit was pointing to the nursery window. "Look, the sun's out," he said. "Now would you like me to finish explaining what makes thunderstorms happen?" "Oh, I would just love to hear all about it," replied Piggy sweetly. "But some other time. Right now, let's go outside and play." The storm had left a large puddle in the middle of the garden. Piggy and Kermit decided to go sailing. As she leaned back in her deck chair and sipped a big glass of lemonade, Piggy smiled. Thunderstorms weren't so bad after all, as long as you stayed dry.
Well, that's not really why they call it raining cats and dogs, is it, Uncle Kermit?
Well, I don't know, Robin. Haven't you ever stepped in a poodle?
Uncle Kermit. Oh, Uncle Kermit, would you read me another story?
Oh, sure, Robin. Now this one looks kind of interesting. It's called Baby Fozzie on Cloud 9.
Is it about thunderstorms, too?
Well, not exactly, Robin. You see, Cloud 9 isn't that kind of a cloud. It's sort of an expression. When you say you're on Cloud 9, it means you're very happy.
Why was Fozzie happy, Uncle Kermit?
Well, actually, Robin, in the beginning of the book, he wasn't happy at all because nobody would pay any attention to him. But I tell you what, let me just read it to you and you'll see, okay?
Great.
The book was written by Barry Keating, and the pictures are by Kathy Spar. Baby Fozzie couldn't stop laughing. He had just made up the funniest joke, and he knew his friends would love to hear it. But no one in the nursery had time to listen. "I must practice my dancing if I'm to be the greatest ballerina in the world," said Piggy. "Not now," called Gonzo. "I'm, whoops, perfecting my death-defying feats of juggling skill." "No time, mud pies," shouted Animal, splattering sticky goo. "Later," sang Ralph from the piano. "My new song just can't wait." "I'm fixing a computer," muttered Scooter. "I'm training for a race," panted Skeeter. "I know Kermit will listen," said Fozzie. "He is my very best friend." "Sorry, Fozzie," gulped Kermit. "I promised to learn my ABCs by nap time, and I'm only up to B." "No one will listen. Nobody cares," grumbled Fozzie. "I might as well go fly a kite." "Good idea, Foz," said Scooter, tapping a loose computer tube. "Have a good time." Fozzie sighed and got out his favorite kite, a big red one with a funny face. Watching it fly outside the window was peaceful and fun. It made him think of far-off places where things would be different, where he would be special and everyone would pay attention. Just then, whoosh! A big gust of wind caught the kite and snick! Pulled Fozzie right through the nursery window. Up, up, and away went the kite, and up went Fozzie, too. "Where are we going?" cried Fozzie, holding on very tight. "To the Cloud Islands," answered the kite, "where everyone always pays attention. We'll find the perfect spot for you." So off they went on a grand tour of the clouds. Cloud 1 was the cloud of ballet. Fozzie danced on his toes. He jumped and twirled and bounced and leaped. The cloud people gathered around. "Ooh," cooed some. "Ah," swooned others. They loved Fozzie's dancing. "Please stay with us," they begged. "We'll always pay attention." But Fozzie shook his head. "Piggy's the dancer, not me. I'll tell her all about you, though. I'm sure she'd love to visit." So the cloud people waved goodbye. Cloud 2 was the juggling cloud, and Fozzie performed with the best of them. He juggled jars of jiggling jellyfish. He balanced a bucket of bright blue bowling balls. He twirled 20 strands of soggy spaghetti on his nose. "Oh, Fozzie, do stay with us," pleaded the cloud people. "Your juggling is supreme." But Fozzie couldn't stay. "This is the perfect cloud for Gonzo, not for me." Cloud 3 was the cloud of fine cooking. Here Fozzie prepared the most delicate and delicious mud pies. "Ooh la la," clucked the cloud chefs. "These are the tastiest pies we have ever munched. Please accept this special blue ribbon." "Thanks," blushed Fozzie, "but Animal should really be here. He's the best mud pie cook in the nursery." Fozzie was enjoying all the attention, but he wasn't quite satisfied. Something was missing. "Maybe we'll find it on the next cloud," said the red kite. Foghorns blared, thunder drums rolled, mist bells clanged. The Cloud 4 Philharmonic Orchestra was about to begin. Baby Fozzie stood before them and waved his baton. Out came the most beautiful music. "Bravo!" shouted the audience. "Please stay and write our songs," pleaded the cloud musicians. "That's a job for Ralph," said Fozzie. "He'd love this music cloud." but it's not the place for me.
I like that cloud, Uncle Kermit. It's a little like the orchestra in Piggy's book, isn't it?
Well, I guess it is, Robin, although I don't think the Cloud 4 Philharmonic has anything to do with making storms.
Maybe not, but at least it helped me forget about the weather for a little while. Don't stop reading, okay, Uncle
Okay,
Kermit?
yeah, sure, Robin. Cloud 5 was the High Hall of Science. Fozzie invented a cloud computer that even the greatest cloud geniuses couldn't figure out. But what good is a computer, sighed Fozzie, without Scooter here to use it? On your cloud! Get set! Go! Shouted the referee. The Cloud 6 marathon was underway. Cloud racers huffed and puffed towards the finish line, but it's Baby Fozzie! Cheered the crowd. The winner by a mile! Fozzie loved his silver trophy, but he couldn't help thinking how much Skeeter would have enjoyed the race. This would be her favorite cloud, he thought. Cloud 7 was Cloud College. Fozzie amazed his professors by reciting the alphabet backwards. After graduating summa cum laude, he was awarded the Phi Beta Bear keychain. I owe it all to my smart friend Kermit, said Fozzie. I wish he were here. And Piggy, and Scooter, and Skeeter, and Gonzo, and Ralph, and Animal. I found a perfect cloud for each of them. But where is the cloud for me? What is your very favorite thing to do? Asked the red kite. We'll go to the cloud where they do that. Baby Fozzie's face lit up. Appearing tonight at the Cloud 8 Comedy Club, here's Fozzie! Shouted the announcer. The cloud crowd roared as Fozzie began his act. Why did the rainbow cross the cloud? To shine on the other side, get it? Ho, 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 screamed the audience. They chuckled and chortled and snickered with glee. They laughed at every joke. Fozzie beamed. Did you hear that, Mr. Kite? I'm a real comedian here. Then this must be your perfect cloud. Fozzie thought for a moment. I do love it here, he sighed, but there's still something missing, something important. I don't know what it is. There's only one cloud left, announced the kite. Cloud 9. They say it's the greatest cloud of all. It's where you'll find everything just as it should be. Cloud 9? How do I get there? Asked Fozzie. Close your eyes and think really hard of a perfect place. Fozzie did. When he opened his eyes, he found himself back in the nursery. Wake up, Foz, said Kermit, shaking him gently. Piggy and Gonzo and Scooter and Skeeter and Animal and Ralph all gathered around. Fozzie looked at them. Then suddenly he smiled the brightest smile. Cloud 9, he laughed. This is it, the perfect spot for me. What about your joke? Asked Ralph. We're ready to listen now, said Piggy. Fozzie thought for a moment. Gosh, I can't even remember it. But I don't care. I'm just glad we're all here together. Everyone laughed. Ralph played his new song, Piggy led them in a dance, and Animal made mud pies for all.
Oh, gee, that was a really nice story, Uncle Kermit.
I'm glad you liked it. You feeling a little better now?
Yeah, I'm not scared. Hardly at all. Uncle Kermit?
Yes, Robin?
You won't tell any of the Frog Scouts about this scared stuff, will you? It makes me feel silly.
Oh, Robin, I won't tell. But you know, you shouldn't be ashamed of being scared. Everybody's scared of something at some time. Even me. I mean, we all feel lots of different things at different times.
Like what, Uncle Kermit?
Oh, like upset, or silly, or angry.
Oh, gee, Uncle Kermit. Well, I've never seen you get angry.
Well, I do sometimes, Robin. As a matter of fact, H.B. Gilmore wrote a book about my being angry when I was a baby. And Tom Brannan drew pictures for it. It's called Even Kermit Gets Grouchy. Would you like to hear it?
Oh, yes, please, Uncle Kermit.
Okay. One ordinary morning, for no particular reason at all, baby Kermit woke up feeling grouchy. Instead of smiling, he frowned. Instead of being cheerful, he felt cranky. Instead of jumping out of bed eager for a new day to begin, Kermit turned his face to the wall and pulled his blanket up over his head. "Good morning!" Baby Fozzie addressed the frog-shaped lump in Kermit's bed. "I can see you are not your happy-go-lucky self today," Fozzie chuckled. "Or should I say, hoppy-go-lucky?" Kermit groaned. "Kermit has awakened in a grouchy mood," Baby Piggy observed. "Oh well, it happens to the best of us, even to me." "Let's not disturb him," Ralph suggested. Baby Gonzo agreed. "When Camilla is in a foul mood, I leave her alone, and in no time at all she feels better." It seemed like a very good idea, so the babies tiptoed away. A few minutes later, Kermit peered out from under his blanket. He didn't understand why his friends had left him alone. They were just trying to help, but Kermit felt deserted. "How would they feel," he grumbled irritably, "if they looked up and found me gone?" "Humph," Kermit went on. "I'd rather be alone anyway. I'd rather be alone and far, far away from friends who like me only when I wake up grinning from ear to ear. Far, far away." It seemed like a very good idea. Kermit packed his toothbrush and stepped out into the bright daylight. Birds were singing, the trees were green overhead, but Kermit, who was grumbling about his gloomy feelings and thoughtless friends, didn't even notice. "This isn't a nice day," he declared. "I say it's a yucky day."
Just like today, huh, Uncle Kermit?
Well, not exactly, Robin. Today it really is sort of yucky outside. But on that day, I felt that way inside, so everything looked yucky to me.
Oh, I see.
Now, above him, the leaves on the trees rustled in an unexpected wind. Clouds formed, and the day turned as stormy as Kermit's mood. In just a few minutes, it was pouring rain. "Hey, do you mind?" chirped a sparrow. "It was a nice day before you came along." "Humph," Kermit grumbled. "I guess I'm just a wet blanket." Soaked to the skin, Kermit trudged on. As he walked, he felt colder and colder inside. His friends had frozen him out, or so he thought. "Well, 8 can play at that game as well as 7, Kermit declared frostily, as he stopped to remove the icicle that had formed on his nose. Kermit felt like throwing something. He wanted to throw something as far and as hard as he could, so he reached down to pick up a smooth black stone. "Do you mind?" yelped a polar bear. "That's my nose you're trying to grab." "Humph," Kermit said grumpily. "Another cold shoulder." Kermit continued on his way. "Just because I'm not Mr. Nice Frog anymore, nobody wants to have anything to do with me," he muttered. He began to remember what a good pal he'd always been. Polite, kind, easy to please. And then, just once, I wake up grouchy, Kermit said to himself, and all my friends leave me. Just thinking about it made Kermit angry. It really burned him up. He got hot under the collar. He was steaming mad. Kermit took out his handkerchief and wiped his forehead. He was so angry that he felt waves of heat rising around him. He faced a burning desert. Beyond that was a mountain. Isolated and majestic, the mountain towered halfway to the sky. It would be the perfect place to be alone. The sand beneath Kermit's feet was as hot as his temper. He hopped from dune to dune as quickly as he could. Suddenly, one of the dunes rose out of the sand. "Hey, hop off the hump, okay?" a camel hissed, staring hard at Kermit. "Hump? Humph! I know when I'm not wanted, Kermit replied, hopping away. The sun was beginning to set as Kermit arrived at the foot of the mountain. Weary and wheezing from his trek across the desert, he began the climb. The desire to be alone kept him going until he reached the peak. "Alone at last!" shouted Kermit as night fell. "Not so fast," bleated a bearded old mountain goat. "You happen to be standing in my living room." "Humph!" Kermit declared. "There's obviously not enough living room here for the two of us. I'll just have to find somewhere else to be alone." Kermit spied a moonbeam traveling up toward the stars. He stepped onto it. Being careful to hold the handrail as Nanny had taught him, he took the moonbeam to the first meteor he found. There, in the stillness of space, he sat on his suitcase, with his back to the world, a little lost frog in the universe, sullen, sighing, and at last, alone. After a few minutes, Kermit cleared his throat and did what he'd wanted to do all day. He shouted. At the top of his lungs, he hollered out into the silent universe. He stamped his feet and shook his fists. He whined and complained and told the stars how unfair the world was. "Did that make you feel better?" a voice asked. Kermit whirled around. He had awakened the moon. "Well, not really," Kermit replied. "Lighten up. Have some fun," the moon advised. "It's the best cure for grouchiness in the entire solar system." At the moon's suggestion, Kermit took a ride on a comet roller coaster. He cooled off in a meteor shower. Then he hopped from star to star and made a big splash in the Little Dipper. He began feeling like his old self again. Kermit turned to thank the moon, but it had already faded. It was the dawn of a new day. It was time to get back to the nursery now. But how? There were no more moonbeams to ride. Suddenly, the star Kermit was standing on began to move. He spied a pair of leather reins decorated with tinkling silver bells. He took hold of the reins just as a bright tail of light exploded from the star. Like a space cowboy standing on the back of a bucking bronco, Kermit held tightly to the reins and rode that shooting star all the way to Earth. He landed with a thud right back in his own bed. When he sat up smiling, Fozzie and Piggy wandered over, looking very glad to see him. "Tell me something," Kermit said to them. "Are you glad to see me just because I'm not grouchy anymore?" "Of course not," said Fozzie. "We're glad to see you anytime, any way you feel. No kidding." "Everyone gets grouchy sometimes, Kermit," Piggy pointed out. "Even you." "That's true."
That was a great story, Uncle Kermit. And it made me feel a lot better.
"Oh, I'm glad, Robin. And you know what?
What?
The storm is over.
Hey, great.
So you want to go outside and play now?
I don't think so. Would you read me another one of those books?
Oh, I guess so. Which one would you like to hear?
You choose.
Well, let's see. Maybe I'll just read this one more time, huh?
Yeah.
Here we go.